This is Stranger Than Fiction, Case Number 7, The Strange Romance of Count Carl Tanzler von Cosel. When one thinks of Key West, Florida, many images come to mind. There are the colorful stories of the pirates of old, of brave citizens having hurricane parties and riding out the storms, of artist colonies dedicated to helping those rare souls with vision, and of Ernest Hemingway bleeding at his typewriter, battling his demons. Like any other small town in America, or the world for that matter, Key West has its fair share of ghosts. There is one story most on this island community wished had never happened. The story of a May-December romance that took a turn to the macabre. A one-sided affair which, when told, reads like a Stephen King or Clive Barker novel, but, alas, was neither fiction nor forgotten. It is the sixth story of Dr. Count Carl Tanzler von Cosel. The Count was born on February 8, 1877, in Dresden, Germany. To this day, no one really knows his real birth name. Some records claim that he was initially called George Carl Tanzler. There is a marriage certificate in Germany that still bears this name. His United States citizenship papers list him as Carl Tanzler von Cosel. From the hospital where he ended up working, there are papers signed by him under the name and title of Count. There was never any proof of von Cosel being related to German royalty. In 1920, he married a woman by the name of Doris A. No record exists suggesting her maiden name. Together they had two children, Aisha Tanzler and Crystal Tanzler. Their youngest child would one day die of diphtheria. The marriage wasn't a happy one, and the relationship between husband and wife was distant at best. Some blamed this estrangement for the death of Crystal. In any case, von Cosel left his wife and decided to seek adventure, traveling to India and Australia with the intention of exploring the South Sea Islands. He became interested in electrical equipment at this time and bought property in Australia to do experiments with. Then came the First World War. Since von Cosel was a citizen of Germany and the British Empire was at war with his nation, von Cosel found himself under arrest as a hostile alien. He spent several years in a cliff-like prison called Trial Bay. He was caught several times trying to escape and almost succeeded once, building a small ship. In the last phases of the attempt, he was betrayed by a fellow prisoner seeking extra war rations. After the war, he immigrated to Holland, where he was pleased to discover that his mother was still alive and well. Taking care of her during the chaos of the German peace, he got the idea of traveling to America. With his family separated from him and no hopes back home, the United States seemed a fresh start for an ambitious man seeking his fortune. He was now a skilled radiologist, and the growing field could use his insights. Count Carl von Cosel immigrated to the United States in 1926. Arriving in America and honestly hoping to start life anew, von Cosel reunited with his estranged wife and daughter, hoping that all could be forgiven. They arrived in Florida via Cuba and settled in Zypher Hills. In 1927, he left his family again, taking a job at the U.S. Marine Hospital in Key West under the name Carl von Cosel. Key West at that time was one of many establishments trying to find a cure for tuberculosis, the white plague as it was commonly called. TB was one of the major killers of people in the world, and at that time, once you got it, it was only a matter of time before you died. There was no cure. Von Cosel did not let such reality stop him, for he was a person of vision. Since the days of his youth in Germany, he claimed to see spirits. In particular, the ghost of a distant ancestor named Anna Constantina von Cosel, who had once shown him the face of his true love, an exotic, dark-haired woman. This vision haunted him his entire life. That was until he met Maria Hoyos in 1930. On April 22nd of that year, Maria came to the Marine Hospital in Key West, a nervous young Cuban immigrant concerned for her health. Convinced by her mother to have her persistent cough looked at, Maria put her faith in the American health system to see to her needs. While in her first series of examinations, she ran into Carl von Cosel. Upon first sight, von Cosel recognized Maria as the woman in his vision. By all accounts, Maria Hoyos had been remembered for her beauty in Key West society. Maria was the proud daughter of a local cigar maker. Cigar factories, working in close quarters with others, was a prime candidate to help acquire TB. Maria was diagnosed with the fatal sickness not too long after her first visit. Shocked and even more heartbroken was von Cosel. His was love at first sight. He promised Maria that with his advanced studies in Europe and throughout the world, he would find a cure. Maria and her family believed him. After all, he was a count. October 25, 1931, was the worst day in von Cosel's life. On that day, Maria died as a result of her tuberculosis. Despite his best efforts, experiments, and theories, the timid man could not save the life of his true love. Maria's family was not wealthy enough to pay for her funeral expenses. Although the owner of a respected cigar factory, Maria's family faced financial bankruptcy due to the economic problems of the time. Von Cosel paid for everything. With permission, he later constructed an impressive mausoleum in the Key West cemetery. Dedicated to his lost love, the man visited her grave every night. His dedication was well received by Maria's grieving family. They took him in as a member of their family and showered him with the love and respect he could never seem to find elsewhere in his life. There was more to it than grief for von Cosel. He would later confess to a sick and dark need to see his Maria. Von Cosel believed that Maria's ghost appeared to him each night during his visits, dressed in a bride's dress. She would sing to him and promise her eternal love, and that dead she would be his life bride. Little known to von Cosel, or ignored by him, was the fact that Maria already had a husband at the time of her death. Although her husband abandoned her after a tragic miscarriage, she was still someone else's wife. Obsession turned dark in April of 1933, 2 years after Maria's death. Von Cosel crept into the Key West cemetery where Maria was buried, and using a small red flyer wagon, stole her body from the mausoleum. He carted the unfortunate woman's mortal remains through the city and back to his home, all the while singing to his true love. Von Cosel claimed that he was only doing what Maria demanded of him. She would often beg him to take her home with him so that their love would become complete. The work ahead was hard, but von Cosel was in love. The Count worked on his lover's corpse with the attention an engineer would give to his own creation. He reattached Maria's bones using copper wire and coat hangers. Adding a little humanity to the dead thing, he placed a set of glass eyes in her skull. Decay was no problem. As her flesh rotted away, he would replace it with a combination of silk cloth soaked in wax and plaster. As her hair fell out, he replaced that with a wig he had fashioned from Maria's own hair, cut before her death, given to him by Maria's mother. Often, his neighbors would hear the man at his piano late at night singing old Spanish love songs. Most considered him crazy long before the horrific discovery. Some saw him as a poetic romantic celebrating a lost love. All seemed to leave him alone, allowing the madness to continue. Von Cosel was ingenious in keeping his illusion alive. To help prevent the corpse from collapsing upon itself, he stuffed Maria's remains with scented cloth and cotton. He dressed her lovingly in stockings, jewelries, and gloves to help keep her hands intact. Never did the woman leave the oasis of their shared bed. Her bed was specially created by von Cosel to help keep her essence as well as her body intact. A small lip was raised all around the mattress to capture any juices which could escape from Maria's body as it slowly rotted away, in the hopes that von Cosel could create a particular perfume so that the scent of her would survive. To curb the curiosity of his neighbors, von Cosel would be seen trying to brew up strange potions and perfumes. He would apologize and state that he was doing it all in the name of science. In truth, he masked Maria's rotting with perfumes, disinfectants, and preserving agents. It was a persistent odor. In October of 1940, Maria's elder sister started to become suspicious. There had been curiosities which turned into concerns by the people of Key West. Every day and night, this elderly gentleman visiting a grave at odd hours. Sometimes he was not seen for days leaving. Then, one day, it stopped. Why? Maria's sister confronted von Cosel on his own front lawn. She heard gossip about her sister's body being taken. She demanded that von Cosel take her to see her sister. Von Cosel knew that he had been caught. That will not be necessary, he calmly stated, leading Maria's sister into his home. Maria has been here all the while. The scene that awaited Maria's sister was the kind expected from a Poe horror story. A huge porcelain doll, glaring dead eyes out into space and surrounded by burning candles, greeted the woman on the second floor of von Cosel's humble home. Scented rags and bottles of loose cotton attacked her senses as well as a thick smell of death. Appropriate to the moment, upon her sister hearing her own scream, Maria's corpse seemed to quiver in its juices, causing a strand of hair to detach itself from its wig. Maria almost appeared to smile. The police were called, and von Cosel was immediately arrested. Maria was taken from her wedded bed. Von Cosel went through detailed psychological treatment and was found mentally sane to stand trial. The charge? Wantonly and maliciously destroying a grave and removing a body without authorization. On October 9, 1940, the trial was held. The case was thrown out. The statute of limitations for the crime had expired. Maria's corpse was examined by the local pathologist and put on public display at the Dean Lopez Funeral Home. Even in rescue, her shame continued. Over 6,900 estimated curious citizens came to see the exhibit. Eventually, Maria was once again buried in the Key West Cemetery, this time in an unmarked location, guaranteeing no disturbance in arrest. Only 2 people know where she is buried, and they are not telling. Von Cosel found himself dropped into the weird world of celebrity. It seemed most people felt sorry and genuinely sympathetic for what he had done. Several magazine articles were written about him at the time, and he was labeled an eccentric romantic. There is in reality something less than romance that was going on, a fact most chose to ignore. In 1972, while wishing to write a book about their experience, the 2 doctors who were present at the 1940 investigations revealed evidence on the case. Von Cosel had been a sick man, having installed an artificial vagina into Maria's corpse, making it possible for intercourse. One of von Cosel's regular duties was to clean out his love for their next night of adventure. Some say that although beaten, von Cosel had not been defeated. On July 3, 1952, in Zephyr Hills, Florida, the sad remains of von Cosel were discovered upon his apartment's floor. He had been dead for at least 3 weeks. No one knew of his past, and he died under the name Carl Tanzler. Within this man's hands, at the time of his death, was a life-size doll with a porcelain death mask strapped upon it. The death mask, it is said, belonged to Maria Hoyos. Of all emotions, love is the most powerful. It can make us achieve the impossible, and in some cases, do the horrific. It can be both a curse and a godsend. In the case of Count Tanzler von Cosel, it is a nightmare Key West will never forget. If you have enjoyed this video, I ask that you please subscribe to this YouTube station. If you are interested in reading any of my personal work, please go to my website, donaldallenkirch.com. My books are available in ebook, print, and audiobook format. It would be an honor to entertain you. So, for Stranger Than Fiction, this is Donald Allen Kirch, wishing you unpleasant dreams. Good night.